again, I'm going to go back to something I said a few weeks ago, and it's kind of frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I've got the XM in the new car, and I'll have it until November for free. For free!
Right. Free!
You know, I listen to it. And these guys who are on the Boneyard or Hair Nation or any one of them, you know, obviously they've got a very set playlist.
Sure.
And it's just like commercial radio. They'll play the same songs over and over and over again. And these guys, this Keith Roth, I think that's his name, and they got this Luke Carl, and they basically, between the Boneyard and Hair Nation, they got 3 DJs.
Okay.
They just switch back and forth. You know, if they do a shift over at Hair Nation, then they go over to the Boneyard and do a shift over there.
Right.
And vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that, you know, because of their playlist over there, that, you know, they got to play the hits.
Right.
They're always talking about new product from these bands that they're playing.
Right.
And, you need to go look at the new video from, I'm just going to throw a name out, Night Ranger.
Okay.
You know, Night Ranger's got a new CD. They got this great video. It's blah, blah, blah. It does this, it does that. The song is great.
Yeah. Here's Sister Christian.
But we're not going to play it here. It's so great, we're not going to play it here.
And we wish we were playing it, but instead we're going to give you Sentimental Street.
Right.
Right here on the Boneyard.
Yeah. And, you know, same way, the same way with Whitesnake.
Right.
Well, they got a new CD coming out. They claim it's the best work that they've ever done. It was supposed to be out by the end of the summer, but it's being pushed back to 2019.
Right.
Well, if it's so great, why is it being pushed back?
Yeah.
And then here's Still of the Night.
Yeah. Well, here's something to hold you over. Here I go again.
You know, then I hear about other bands. Well, they got this great new CD, let's just say Judas Priest, Firepower.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of great footage online, and they got this new video for this new one. What a damn good, great record. If you have a chance, go pick it up. Now, here's some heads are going to roll. Yeah, it's like, dude, you just pumped this new record, and now you're going to play something from 40 years ago.
Yeah, play the new song and then the old song.
Yeah.
Wasn't that the old radio back-to-back?
Yeah, something like that. But regardless, it's like, why even bother talking about it?
Yeah, dude, here's the real question. You who has fucking Spotify and an iPhone, what the fuck are you doing listening to the Boneyard?
It's just easy.
Easier than push and play on your phone?
Well, again, I have to pull it up and select and, you know, all this other stuff. To me, I just start the engine and roll down the road.
Dude.
I could do it. I mean, obviously I could do it, but you know, it's just on. It's just there. You know what I mean?
You're the guy we make fun of. You're the guy that sits in his car and listens to Bob and Tom.
Yeah. Well, again, it's just background noise for me personally.
Right.
I mean, I don't sit there and hang on every word. It's just background noise.
Right. And half the time you call me.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not really listening. You know, it's
right.
like, oh man, I hope they play Def Leppard, you know, something. You know, it's just like, I can't wait till they play that one.
Dude, I gotta hang up now. My screen on my Sirius says they're playing Round and Round.
Yeah.
Gotta hear that.
But it's just surprising that these guys will keep promoting, you know, new product or new tours, and then they don't do anything with it.
Yeah, they do nothing at all
it's
with it.
It's just like, why even bother mentioning it? You won't play it.
Yeah.
And if it's so great, because that's what it is. Oh, man, this is so great. Mm-hmm. Man, they got a great new video for this new single, and it's this and that, and I'm going to play something from 30 years ago.
Yeah. It would make sense if like, Sirius had a channel for that. Like, you know, new music from old bands or something. Which would probably be an actual good channel if they would fucking do any kind of research on what music people listen to. But, you know, they don't. They never play that shit. Dude, I was thinking about resubscribing just because I wanted to hear some Jim and Sam stuff and then I found that it was all on YouTube, so I just didn't. But but I did the free week, and I played around with the music stations, and I was just disgusted.
Yeah, it's just a commercial radio station. They got the top 40 that they play, and that's all they play.
Yeah, and I mean, even stuff like Liquid Metal is just garbage now. They just play even that. They're playing the same old shit. They're not playing. There's a platform out there right now. It's called Gimme Radio. Have you heard of this yet? Gimme Radio.
I have not.
It's Dave Mustaine has a show on it, and it's an app. You could download the app on your phone, and you probably wouldn't like it personally. You'd like the Mustaine show, but the rest of it is like the really heavy stuff, like a lot of death metal, a lot of black metal, a lot of that stuff. But it's for free. It is 100 times better than anything Sirius has going on it, and it doesn't cost you a goddamn nickel to have it. It's like, dude, what is going on with it? Are you going to renew in November?
Probably not.
And you just like out?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I like the fact that it came with the car and all, but I get nothing out of it. I mean, I don't really even listen to it. It's just in the background. I don't even have it played up that loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of playing, and that's about it.
Right.
But as far as renewing it or anything, I'm not doing that. I don't have any use for that.
Maybe if they give you 3 years for $20.
Yeah.
Even then, you'll be thinking about it. Like,
yeah,
$20.
Yeah. If they would, again, here is an unfettered platform that people have to pay to listen to.
Sure.
And they're not commercially sponsored, so it's not like they have to sell commercial time.
Right.
But they can't deviate from their programming. They have to have such a hard programming list that they can't do anything different.
Well, look at all the people that they brought in, a bunch of old radio people. So those people only know old radio habits.
Uh-huh.
They don't know anything new. Dude, back when XM was rocking, 2004, 5, 6, in that era, they had Lou Brutus that was like the main guy for music. And Lou Brutus was a fucking old school punk guy. He wasn't some radio dinosaur. He was like a guy with a different attitude. And those stations kicked that. Every station was great. Remember the early days of XM?
I do. That's what sold me on it when I first got it. It was just like, wow, this is great. There's such a variety here. It's not stale. It's not old.
Yeah. But then as soon as they sold out to Sirius, and aside from torpedoing our deal, they fucking just went to shit. Can you imagine if we would have ended up there? How long would we have lasted? No way we would have lasted 5 years, do you think?
No, I would say a year.
Yeah. We would have been thrown right the fuck out of there. Sort of glad that it went the way it did. That would have sucked to have to start over.
But you would think anyway, with a paid platform, that they would be a little more loose with the playlist, or maybe allow their quote unquote disc jockeys to have a little more input.
Yeah.
But these guys basically repeat themselves again and again and again.
Yeah.
Every time, this Luke Carl guy, I catch him a little bit in the afternoon when I'm driving home sometimes.
Right.
And every time he comes up on a Rat song, same shtick. Got a text from Stephen Piercy a couple weeks ago. He said he's going to announce what's going on with Rat. Still haven't gotten that text yet. It's like, hey, Luke, get this. We'll be the first one to bring it to you. It's like, hey, Luke, get this. Stephen emailed me and told me the same thing.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Yeah, it's not, you're not exclusive, okay?
Yeah, he's going to send it to everybody he knows in radio.
Yeah, of course.
He's trying to sell a record.
And the difference is he actually likes us.
Yeah, you're just a guy.
Yeah. So I can't tell you how many times he's repeated that over weeks.
Well, you know what's most amazing to me about SiriusXM is they've built their whole environment around personality radio.
Yeah.
Whether it's Stern or Jamie Foxx in the Foxhole or Eminem or, I'm not Oprah for a while. I don't know if she's still there or not, but
Or what used to be O&A.
O&A, you know, even if it was shit that you don't like, Jason Ellis, you know, they built Bennington. They built up their entire platform on
Unique personality radio.
Yeah, personality-driven radio. And now what do? They have personalities and they don't let them become personalities. Let these guys do what the fuck they're going to do. Yeah, I get it. If they're on a music station, don't let them do a 30-minute break without playing songs, but you know, let them play their own songs. Here's the playlist. Here's 5,000 songs. Pick what you want out of these 5,000.
Exactly. And I don't understand why they can't do that.
Yeah. What's it going to hurt? I mean, it's a captive audience. It's not going to hurt anything. People are not going to tune away because you play Dangerous but Worth the Risk instead of fucking Round and Round. Are they? Are people going to be like, holy shit, I haven't heard this song in 25 years.
Assuming you're a real fan.
Yeah, or I've never heard this Rat song. What is this? You know, they won't know. That's good. You know, something sounding fresh is good in radio. Last I checked. You know, I know one thing. When I hear fucking Us and Them come on my fucking thing, even now, when I just throw like a playlist on and something Us and Them or fucking Running with the Devil or
Sweet Home Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama, I can't fucking hit the skip button fast enough. I don't want to hear those songs anymore. I like them. I like all those songs that I just named, but I don't want to hear them anymore. I want to hear, like, Leonard Skinner. I'll be the first one to admit, I don't know shit about Leonard Skinner except the hits. You know, I know a handful of Leonard Skinner songs. So if I hear something that I haven't heard before, I'm inclined to say, hey, okay, that's cool. Let me give that a listen. And I'm certainly going to listen to that before I listen to Sweet Home Alabama again. You know, now I listen to it long enough to see if it's Kid Rock or Leonard Skinner. And once I figure out who it is, and I turn it right the fuck off.
Right.
On both counts, because I don't really, even the Kid Rock song, I'm tired of that too. They overplayed that too. So, you know, it's just like, ugh. Commercial radio stinks.
It does. But the thing is XM Sirius should not be commercial radio.
No, it shouldn't be, but it is.
It is now.
Yeah.
Speaking of XM Sirius, and I wanted to get into this a little bit. You sent me over the podcast for Kumia Radio.
Oh, yeah, the Kumia show?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I listened to that today. I got home and did a few things, and I decided I'm going to kind of lay down and maybe take a nap.
Okay.
So I pulled that up and listened to it. Mm-hmm. Wow, does Anthony hate Opie?
Oh, he hates him.
Oh, I know.
He definitely fucking hates him. They have some bitterness.
Oh, no kidding. Well, what's really funny is that both he and Opie built a 20-year career and enriched themselves with millions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
Through their, collaboration, chemistry, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And now that dissolved 4 or 5 years ago. Has it been 4 years ago, maybe? 5 years already? Mm-hmm. Anthony just absolutely hates Opie.
Oh, yeah. So does Jim. Jim hates him, too.
Yeah. So listening to that Anthony segment that you sent over today, and the way that they were talking about Opie's new podcast,
right?
It was just like, this fucking dope. What an idiot and stuff like that. It's like, wow.
Yeah, doesn't like Opie at all. Mm. Dude, the other day he had Norton on the show, and they were talking about Opie's podcast. And one of the things Opie's doing constantly is bringing up that it's free.
Yeah.
Which is a direct dig at Anthony.
Okay.
Because it's a direct dig at Compound Media.
Yeah, of course, because it's a subscriber-based thing.
Right. So, fucking Norton. Norton goes, you know what else is free that you can get for free anytime you want it? Garbage.
Garbage.
And they both just fucking lost it. I was fucking rolling.
Wow.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. How bad do things have to be to get to that level of hatred?
Well, you have not. I'll have to send you some of the old stuff. When Ant did a show, oh God, this is like 3 years ago now, called Walking on Greg Shells.
Yeah, I know. I listened to that. You actually sent that to me a while back.
Yeah, I mean, he spells out that Opie's just an asshole. And it does come to play out because if you look at everybody that was associated with the show, none of them like Opie anymore.
Right. That's kind of what was being spelled out on this segment that you sent me over.
Yeah. Nobody likes Opie anymore. They all come and do Anthony's show. They all have. Norton has, E-Rock has, Sam has, Travis has. All those guys have done Anthony's show. None of them want nothing to do with Opie.
Well, they were pointing out on Anthony's show that Opie tweeted out something about Artie Lang coming on his podcast now that he's fired from Anthony's show.
Right.
And then he tweets out something like, "All right, cool. I'll send you the private, direct message information or something to that effect." And they're just like, what a dope. The guy didn't even respond. He acts like he's like got some kind of backdoor information here or something. And it was just bizarre. It was
cheesy. But you know what though? I on that specific thing, I thought Anthony was a little over the top on that.
Well, I agree with that. That's why I brought it up, because I thought, man, this is just like really brutal.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that's just a little dig, and it's one of those digs that's so fucking ridiculous that Anthony should just ignore it. But he did. He went off for 20 minutes on the shit. I loved that though, dude. That whole. Did you listen to the whole episode?
I did. I listened to the whole thing. Yeah.
That fucking Dave Smith rules, doesn't he? The guy that was with him.
He's very quick. He's very articulate. He's very well spoken as far as his viewpoints on whether it's a political commentary or show business commentary, or just having a good take on things in general.
Yeah, that guy was good. I just that segment in particular, I was like, God, Neely will like this. They're talking Neely's language here. They were talking your kind of politics.
Well, I thought it was good. I found it entertaining, and listened to the whole thing. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, and I have to admit, I don't hate Opie's podcast.
All right. Well, I haven't heard it, so I can't make any judgment one way or another. But when I heard that today, I thought, wow, these guys are really brutal. Hail and kill caller, you're on the air.
Hey guys, what's up? Hail and kill motherfuckers. This is the anarchist from the chat room. I haven't been in the chat room for a little bit, but that's whatever. Who gives a shit? Anyway, so I wanted to call to you guys because I'm one of those dudes who kind of scopes out the Opie and Anthony Reddit. Kind of follows it because through you guys I found Opie and Anthony, and then I found Art Bell through that, and so I'm a 23-year-old dude, and I kind of I kind of enjoy like the older radio and like what makes it good, what makes it good really, and it just seems like Opie kind of he just slips and falls, like he's a normal dude, like he doesn't get that sick kind of sense of humor that Norton produces, and Anthony, like he'll feed into it, like Norton will do Uncle Paul and Anthony will feed into it. I mean, this is really old shit, but I mean, it's like what about that show made it good? And it just doesn't seem like Opie at a certain point like got it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it.
Well, he outgrew it. That's always been my intent.
Yeah.
The thing was, and I'll go all the way back because from the minute I heard Opie and Anthony, I was into them. I mean, a lot. And when they first came on here in Cleveland was when they were doing like wiffle ball bat challenge and shit. And for people that don't know, they'd have a chick in studio and they had this wiffle ball bat and they would see how far she could stuff it up in her pussy. That's what they would do. And it was, was it vulgar? Yeah, it was vulgar, but I loved it. I couldn't get enough of wiffle ball bat challenge. And I think they were into it And then all of a sudden, Opie married a chick about the same age as these chicks that were stuffing wiffle ball bats up their snapper. And then all of a sudden, Opie didn't want to do that kind of humor anymore. But by that point, that they had established what they were, and he didn't fit the show. The big change for him. And if you've listened to all the old shows, you may agree with me, you may not. Neely, you might or not too. But I felt like the biggest change that they had was when they came back after the 30-day suspension for the homeless Charlie guy that said he wanted to kill Condoleezza Rice or whatever. They had a homeless guy that was on the show and on the XM side. And it was when they were doing Free FM. And then they would walk over to XM. Well, on the XM side, they had this homeless guy, and he said he wanted to kill Condoleezza Rice. And they got suspended for 30 days, and they got investigated by the black coats and whatever.
The FBI,
And when they came back, it was a different show. Opie got really quiet. He wasn't involved anymore, and it really just became the Anthony and Jim show, with Opie throwing in, a little nugget here and that. And
go ahead. The thing was about it is that when you listen to like I don't know if it was separate interviews or something, but Anthony, I think maybe it was during the Walking on Greg Show segment, he talked about how after they got fired, like him and Anthony, that is, and Opie kind of separated. Like they kind of stopped being friends at a certain point, and you can see a period where Opie was friends with Norton a bit more, and like that period. Like, okay, so there was the incident where they had the band in, and they had the girls, and they got really drunk, like that whatever they call it, the show that shouldn't be named or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like one of those things. Was like they had the Jaeger machine and shit like that. And even Anthony came back and was like, we cannot do this anymore. And then so the homeless Charlie incident was like, I've listened to that show, and that guy was fucking great. He was great. That's potentially one of the best shows they ever did. And the thing about it is that he started going off on these tangents, and they didn't stop him. Like, hey, we shouldn't talk about the government. Like, hey, we shouldn't. But if they had just been able to be like, if they didn't not give a shit, if there hadn't been this weird discourse between the three guys at the time, they might have had the wherewithal to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't talk about Condoleezza Rice and fucking the queen in the ass or whatever the guy talked about,
right?
And kind of put it back to a place where, like, hey, maybe we could have had this guy on, it could have been good. But then, like, Opie had, like you said the other day, Opie had become a yuppie kind of thing. Like, he had really, like, kind of bought in that lifestyle. He had children. He had a daughter that was, what do you want to say, retarded? Let's just say retarded. So, I mean, he had different life experiences. Anthony was playing video games. I mean, right. Norton was fucking buying whores every night. And so they kind of reached a point, and I feel like after the homeless Charlie incident, yeah, right, like, it really solidified where the divide was between the three guys, and they just kind of chose to be like, fuck Opie. Like, Opie's a normie now. He's a quitter. He's not with the fucking idea of the whole show kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad that it fell apart the way it did, but, you know, and while the shows were okay at the end, I was not terribly upset when Anthony was let go. It just, not because I don't like Ant, I love Ant, but, you know, I mean, what Anthony and what Opie and Anthony were doing in the late 90s, early 2000s, that's the radio I wanted to do. I hope that's sort of what we do here. You know, I mean, we don't get into having chicks in here to fucking blow us on the air, at least not yet. But, you know, I'll be the first one to openly admit that I pattern a lot of what I do on Anthony and Norton. You know, specifically, and Neely and I talk about this endlessly off the show. the one thing that I always want to do, and I take it straight from Jim Norton, is I want to be fast. I always hate it when I try to go with a joke and I'm not fast enough. It doesn't come out fast enough to where it's not as funny because it's not as spontaneous. And
well,
and
it's
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I mean, when you're a radio guy, right? Like you look at somebody like Cumia, or you look at somebody like Norton. Like Norton's such a weird situation where he came to the show as a comedian and then he like adapted. And it's that quick, funny, it's just sharp and cutting. Like some of the shit Norton says is so heinous, but
Right.
it's so heinous that it's funny, and it's so fast that it just hits you.
Right. But the speed is what makes it the funniest, is that they could be talking about anything. They could be talking about being in the grocery store, and he'll somehow find a way to tie that into, sticking a cucumber up his ass, but it will be bang, that fast. And it's like out, and it's funny, and it's so jarring that it's like hilarious. And I could only wish I wish I could be as funny as Norton, or as fast as he is.
Well, it's a drive-by punch in the face.
That's what it is.
Well, it's one of those things, like, I listen to some of the shit dealing with the Rev, the Metal Moose.
Yeah.
Like, I hear lines like, what is it? Hey, sister, have you ever jerked out the pontiff and cashed the cum in his hat? That's fucking fast. That's brutal. I love that kind of shit, and that's the kind of thing I listen for. I mean, if I'm not listening to, like, Art Bell or something like that, where it's, like, really... progressive talk, like through like, ideas. It's like, whatever, fuck that shit. I want to listen to somebody call somebody a cunt at just the right moment, and that's what I want, It's funny. It's very funny. And it's just one of those things where, like, the entertainment from Opie and Anthony has kind of come from the drama between the three dudes at a certain point, and that's just kind of sad. It's not about the humor. Like some of the Chip Chipperson podcasts that I've listened to recently, like the one where he gets the three girls and he's like testing out news girls and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was just so fucking funny how inappropriate he was. The fact that these chicks are like millennial girls, they like got liberal values, like, oh, I should be respected and whatever. Fuck that shit. And he just runs over it with just a sledgehammer, and they just laugh it off. And it's so funny to me that he's so inappropriate, and they just laugh it off. And I'm just laughing my ass off the whole time at how it's just violating the rules. Like, to this day, at least Norton, to this day, is violating the rules and kind of found his footing with the Chip character. And he's actually funny now. Like, I wasn't a big fan, for the first year. Like, it just wasn't that funny, really. I mean, but all of a sudden I see him, like, just not giving a shit. And just, he's just like, oh, whatever, you're cooter, whatever the fuck. In front of three girls who are about my age, and they're going to take offense to it, and he does not care. And that's where it's really funny.
No, I agree, and I agree with you fully. I cannot wait till fucking 8:00 every Sunday to watch the Chipperson podcast, dude. I love it. It's too fucking good.
You, sir, need to seek out therapy and counseling, I'm afraid to tell you.
I probably do.
If you find that funny, you need counseling. I'm sorry, but you're just not decent human.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like it's really only caught me the last 3 kind of episodes he's put out, where it's like, he's getting to be an older guy, Norton, and he's like getting to that point where he just does not give a shit. And that's really like where Carlin. You look at Carlin; he lost his wife, like in the early mid '90s or so. And he just stopped giving a fuck. And of course, Norton and guys like that really idolize Carlin. And if you compare it to, it's just the freedom of not giving a fuck and the freedom to say whatever you want. The quickness comes with not giving a fuck, I personally believe, because I mean, the first thing I ever heard when I was 13 years old, and that's the thing, is that I discovered Carlin through him dying. And when I discovered Carlin through him dying, and I'm young enough that I was like, oh, let me check all this guy's material, all of it. And it's formed me as a person to just be like, it's funnier when you don't give a fuck. It's much easier when you don't give a fuck. And if it's your career as a comedian to not give a shit. Like, I would really like to see what Norton's next special is like. Like if he's starting to like get to this point where he's like, you know, I'm just lonely. I don't really want to fuck whores anymore because it's that lonely. Like he's getting to like degraded to that point where it's actually funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's inappropriate.
It's a good take on him, dude. I agree fully, man. You're right on it.
All right, guys. Well, Hail and Kill. If you guys don't want to go any longer, I'm good with that shit.
Okay.
So it gets old after a while. If you want more, go check Reddit and go fuck yourself.
Excellent.
Hail and Kill, fuck you, pals. Hand jobs.
All right. Well, see, that was a good phone call.
That was a good phone call. He came in, said his piece, got out.
Yeah, he knew what he was talking about. He was well thought out. He is passionate about the subject, and he had what he said what he had to say, and out the door.
And he was on topic.
He was.
That's amazing. That never happens on this show.
But the difference between those guys and us.
Yeah.
They've made millions of dollars doing what they do.
Yeah. I was going to say about 60 million.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm happy just doing it just to do it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you do it because it's fun. You don't do it for the money.
Yeah, exactly. Made money today. I made 10 grand today.
Yeah, I know, but you didn't make 10 grand doing this.
No, of course not. I wouldn't want to make 10 grand. Truth, and this is God's honest truth. I don't know if we got offered something. What would it take? 150 grand each?
To do what?
To do this full time. 200 grand each?
Oh, it would have to be more than that because I make that in a year.
All right, so 200 grand each.
Yeah.
You would do that?
Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't do it.
No?
I wouldn't do it. Nope. And I'll tell you why. Because, one, it would make this not fun anymore. It just would make this not fun. I would not enjoy it every day if it was a job. You know, for whatever it's worth, I get to make a decision to come in and do the show every week.
That is true.
And, you know, and pulling the curtain back, and Neely, you'll attest to this, there have been quite a few times, probably 10 or more, where I've called you at 8 o'clock and said, I'm not doing it tonight. This came up, that came up. I'm sick. I don't feel like it, whatever. True?
That is true.
You know, I mean, there are times that I just don't want to do it. And I don't want to do it in a half-ass way. You know, it's either we're either all in or we're not in. If we were doing it every day, 5 days a week, dealing with management, I would not enjoy that at all.
No, I would agree from that aspect. No, that wouldn't be fun.
Right.
But if it was, listen, this is our contract, whatever that would be.
Mm-hmm.
We dictate the rules.
Yeah, well, you'll never get that.
Well, I know we'll never get it, which is why we don't do commercial stuff.
Dude, when I was on 92.3, I had in my contract, because Matt and I had different contracts, and I took less. But we had I had creative freedom in my contract. And you know what? I still got fucking fired. You know, it's just the way it is, dude. It's not that. Commercial radio is not as much fun, and that's what I really don't want to do it. That's because of that. And then the second thing is it would wreck mine and your friendship, and I'm not really willing to do that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, again, this is why this show has gone 22 years without seeking commercial sponsorship.
Yeah,
because neither one of us. It's just it's a thing with us. And it's just like, it's not about the money because obviously we've never made a dime doing this.
Yeah, and it's like, it wouldn't be worth the hassle to me. You know, there's no amount of money that I'm willing to trade for friendships. There's no amount of money that I'm willing to trade for, you know, my life right now. You know, and you know, they'd want us to move and then we'd be living in fucking New York, which would suck a bag of dicks. And you know, there's no good avenue to it. And I just like doing what we do. You know, I like just doing what we do. This is my fucking this is my my kind of relaxed time where I can actually turn off the computer for a little while and not have to crunch code or, that's what I was doing. Dude, the thrill of my life today was reconstituting fucking a school that I built, an online school, reconstituting all their videos and plugging in video work and testing video all day. So I did for fucking 12 hours today. Put in videos, watch the videos, make sure they didn't sputter, make sure they didn't, the vocal was clean. That's what I did today. 12 hours of that shit. Now that's fucking horrible, right?
Right.
But think about it if that was think about if I didn't have this to do. How miserable would I be right about this minute? I would be like, oh, I'm going to fucking shoot somebody in the face after the day I just had.
Right.
But instead it was like, all right, well, I did that for the day, and now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tell dick jokes for fucking 6 hours.
And you're going to interview a guy who writes about stuff you really like.
Yeah, exactly. And have a good friend on too, Ron too. So, could we blow it up into something else? I'm sure we could, but we almost did with XM way back in the day. And could we get on with one of these podcast companies? I'm sure we could.
We have submitted stuff, and they're just like, well, we like what you do, but it's like, well, the but part is the reason why we're not going to do this with you.
Exactly, because we're not going to change what we're doing. Hey, let's just go back to talking about bands. Let's do that. Neely, the next segment, let's do some comparison between Greta Van Fleet and
Led Zeppelin.
Kingdom Come. Let's have that discussion. No, we can't talk about Zeppelin because that's the Holy Grail, but Kingdom Come versus Greta Van Fleet. We're going to do an hour on that next here on the Classic Metal Show. Ugh. Do we want to do that?
No, of course not.
And we sure as fuck ain't going to stop talking about all the filth that we're into. And by we, I mean me, I guess. And Lord knows, do you think we could have pictures of a guy with a candle in his fucking tiny cock like we have in the chat room right now? if we were doing this on SiriusXM? I don't think they'd approve.
Yeah, they'd have monitors banning that guy.
Yeah. Turn off your chat room. That's terrible.
Well, that reminds me. I mean, obviously we mentioned, or mostly you mentioned, the influence that Opie and Anthony had on what we do here.
Sure.
And one of the things that used to be a really fun thing listening to Opie and Anthony is that people were able to participate on Pal Talk.
Oh yeah,
that used to be a big deal.
Yeah, it sure was.
What happened to Pal Talk?
It's still out there.
Well, I'm sure it is, but I haven't heard anything about Pal Talk since Opie and Anthony.
Well, they got off of Pal Talk, just like everything else. It turned into a commercial entity.
Of course it did.
They made it so you couldn't cam anymore, and everything was like 10 seconds, and then you had to pay $20 a month for the ability to get into certain chat rooms, and it just got to be stupid.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work on phones, and because we used Pal Talk.
Yeah, we used it for a while.
Yeah, but then when it wouldn't work on phones, it was like, all right, time to go.
Right.
Because we had to have it on the phones. And we've had 1 million chat rooms. Jesus. I don't think there's any left, are there?
Yeah, now we're on Rumble Talk.
And now we're on Rumble Talk, which I like Rumble Talk.
Yeah, so far it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I've liked it. It's worked pretty well every single week, which hope it stays that way.
Right. Which that's another subscription that's coming up, I'm sure.
Rumble Talk?
Yeah.
Has it already been a year?
I think so.
Jesus.
I think that's like 120, I think, something like that.
You need to get that marketing guy on the ball here.
Well, yeah, I emailed him back.
All right. Get him on the ball here.
So I got a $500 bill due for the Spreaker, and I've got a $120 bill due for the Rumble Talk.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Do a pinball podcast? Hell no. Dude, I don't even like pinball. And I'll openly admit that. I don't really like playing pinball at all.
Yeah.
That's just business. That's how I make my money.
Yeah. Well, overall, the investment in the show probably cost me about $2,000 a year.
Oof. It's well worth it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I spend $2,000 a year supporting the show.
When you get those emails like the ones or those comments like the ones I sent you today saying about how bad we suck and we're not funny and we're boring.
And we need Eddie Trunk to make our show funny.
Yeah. When you get stuff like that, you can't help but fucking want to spend more money, can you?
No. So good.
Dude, the one was so... I loved the Janie Lane one. Did you read that one?
Oh, yeah. How terrible we are for, that had to have been an old segment.
That's not that old.
How old was that segment? That email was making reference to.
It wasn't that old. We talked about him not too long ago. Let me find it. It probably a couple months only.
Okay.
I mean, it's not old.
Well, I got it pulled up here. Not the segment, but the comment.
Hold on. The segment is... Oh, it's a year ago. June 14th of 2017.
And what were we talking about?
Warrant Mrs. Janie. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about Robert Mason.
Yeah.
And I think what it was is that I was talking about Robert Mason being the vocalist of Warrant, and I saw that him at M3 last year.
Okay, that's probably it.
Yeah. Hail and Kill caller, you're on the air.
Hey, guys. I hate to call back again.
But you did anyway, didn't you?
Of course I did, because I'm an asshole, and I don't care. Fuck you. Anyways, the one question that I wanted to ask before I hung up, and I've been meaning to ask for months now, because
now be
it's
careful.
like one of those
be
things
careful. Select your words carefully, because Chris and I are easily offended.
Yeah.
Offended? Well, okay. Well, I hope you'll put that, what do you call it, a sentiment to the test. Okay, so I've listened to a lot of you guys, hundreds of hours at least at this point, because I'm one of those guys that'll listen to a ridiculous amount of radio. Would you be willing to do something along the lines of something that you guys used to do? You didn't call it as it should be called, but would you guys be willing to take up the Opie and Anthony kind of bit of Jocktobering different podcasts or radio shows and pointing out their flaws, I guess is my question, to make it your own bit, like kind of continue the mantle of like, hey, we don't give a shit and we will tell you, that you fucking suck, kind of thing. Like at this stage in your career, I mean, I understand the time, the dedication to doing your show, and what it actually costs as far as time, and the point of both of your careers to check out other shows. But would you be willing to like kind of do like a Rev, talking metal kind of thing, like again?
Well, the thing is, I got to be honest with you, I enjoyed doing that. I think that one of the things about this show, which even to this day amazes me, because there really is no pre-thought about it. Things just kind of morph into other things. And when we got away from, critiquing other podcasts, we used to do a lot of blog talk radio critiques.
Right.
And we used to analyze other people's podcasts and things, and people seemed to enjoy that. They thought it was funny. But because we've morphed away from that, just doing our other things, like the Judge Aiken bit is one of the most recent things that people really dig.
I enjoy Judge Aiken for sure.
The critiquing other podcasts sort of falls in the distance. But does that mean we wouldn't do it again? I'd do it again in a minute, but I got to be honest with you. Chris is the one who usually would find these podcasts and bring them to the table. 95% of what you hear on the show is stuff that I've put together through the week.
Yeah.
So Chris used to bring the podcast all the time because he used to listen to all the bad podcasts out there, and we used to have a field day doing that. But, again, other segments take place and other things take their place, and it just is a ever-evolving show.
But let me add to this before you comment. Hold on, dude. I'll
Okay.
put this out. Let me put this out there, though. If anybody has a bad show that they like in their market or a podcast or whatever, and they send it to us, that almost universally makes it to the show.
I think the last one we did was that show out of Atlanta. What was that called? The Fred Show or something?
The Fred Show, yeah. And then we had those guys from California. Remember them?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Was that long ago?
That chainsaw show or whatever.
Yeah.
Fred and Amy or something like that.
But I mean, we're also we're kind of doing Eddie Trunk too. We have been doing a lot of Eddie Trunk coverage.
What the one thing is I can't express to you how much I love the fact that you guys have not let Eddie Trunk go over the years. Like, he just needs to be held accountable. He just needs to be. He's terrible. He's a horrible representative for metal. Like, what is this? What this fucking 50-something-year-old man? He's just made out of wax. He just looks like shit. Fuck him in the asshole. Like, he needs to go. I don't want him anymore. He doesn't have a handle on shit. Like, you want a handle on shit? Okay. Like fucking Ghost is huge right now. Ghost put out their new video. They got their new fucking shtick with the new Cardinal fuckface or whatever they call him, and they're huge. And yes, it's an older, like, classic metal style, and that's a big deal. That's a fucking huge deal that they can go melodic. Have you heard their new single Rats?
Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of it?
It's all right. There's something about the vocal that doesn't do it for me with Ghost, and I really have tried, and I don't know what it is, but there's something with the vocal that I just am not all in on. But that being said, I certainly I won't go all Eddie Trunk and say, I don't understand it, so it's bad. That and Steel Panther, that's all just shit. People like what they like. Dude, I went through it with Volbeat. Half the people love Volbeat, half the people fucking can't stand Volbeat. I like them. Everybody has their own taste. You don't have to like everything, but Eddie tries to come off like Ghost is bad. That's it. It's like, dude, stop it.
I don't like them, and you shouldn't like them either.
Yeah, pal.
Yeah, fuck them.
Right.
Well, if he had the balls, he'd say that.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. Well, okay, I guess like the second part of my question would be, is that like you look at the new Rats video from Ghost, let's say, and you say, okay, like he's doing interpretive dance in the video, and it's more of a melodic harmony, kind of like a layering effect. You kind of look at it and you say, okay, this is like a Michael Jackson, Eddie Van Halen almost situation sounding kind of thing, where it's like, okay, are they free enough in the way that they've created music to make this kind of record where they can just adapt in that way? And can they almost make fun of it? Can they make satire out of it, because they're really almost identifying as a satanic church aligning band? And I guess the question is like, this video has millions of views, obviously, the Rats video, their other videos, they've been gaining like a ridiculous amount of popularity, but they still retain that classic metal kind of style. But then they're also pertaining and catering to the satanic side of things, the real like core of metal. Like, is metal evil? The whole PMRC thing was related to religion, but they're really fucking pushing it. They're really pushing it, even though they're making their music lighter. they're really pushing the satanic, like, apocalypse kind of thing. And I want to know what you guys think of it, being more seasoned than I am.
I haven't listened to it enough to care, honestly, and I hate to be that brutal about it, but I just haven't listened to it that much. It's not one. I'll make you this deal, dude, and I'll do it this way. I will listen to it every day for the next 7 days, and I will report back. I will give you a ghost follow-up next week, because I don't want to come off all uninformed and half-cocked, where I will admit I've heard the song, but I've maybe heard it twice. Fair?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing is that it's kind of a weird thing. It's like an anomaly that's happening, and I guess that's why I wanted to ask you about Ghost.
All right. Well, let me listen to it a bunch this week, and we'll talk about it next week.
Sure.
All right. Call back next week.
All right. Hail and kill, fuck you, pal. I'm out. Later, guys.
Right, there's a guy who's passionate about his podcast and his music.
Yeah, he likes that Ghost.
Yeah, he's all in.
Ha ha. And yeah, I invited him back on next week on purpose just for you guys that are saying Z.
I don't know. I like this guy.
I like him too.
Yeah, he's got something to say. For a young guy, he's got something to say.
But you know goddamn well, every time I see those Z's, I look to fucking fuck whoever says that.
Yeah, pals.
And since they want a Z on his calls, I will answer back by saying I'm going to have a chat next week with my new friend there about Ghost.
Yeah.
Band that I'm not even into, but I will listen to all week just because you put Z's in my chat room, you fucks.
Right.
So there.
Well, real quick before we take a short break.
All right.
Getting back to the YouTube comment about Janie Lane.
Yeah.
Sharon Ozmaniac, that's the YouTube subscriber's name.
Right.
Said, I can't believe how you guys can sit and laugh and make a funny joke out of this.
At least you said it was funny.
Well, that's what we do.
Huh.
Yeah, Janie liked to party, but so did most of the bands.
Yeah, and they didn't kill themselves over it.
Yeah. Here's the catch, though. I love Warrant.
Good for you.
But see, that's where this centers around right there. That's the tell right there. I love Warrant. So therefore, you can't say anything I disagree with.
Yeah, they're my band.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, Janie made Warrant the band it was. Well, I don't think anybody has any argument about that.
I don't think we were saying that the best singer in Warrant history was Robert Mason.
Right. They'll never be the same without him. Yeah, because they don't have Janie anymore.
Yeah.
It's never the same. As soon as you remove a key element to anything, it's never the same.
Especially the guy that wrote the fucking songs. We get it.
Yeah. Janie didn't need a band as good as a singer as he was.
Now that's untrue. Because his solo records and that Jabberwocky you couldn't give those records away.
Yeah, they didn't do shit.
No.
All he needed was himself and his guitar.
Really?
I'm glad Warrant is still alive, but I wish Janie was too. Well, I think Chris and I both would agree with that.
Yeah?
Nobody wants to see a young guy, he was only 48 years old, die.
Right.
At his own hand.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are just being straight up assholes.
Yeah, that's what we do.
I like you all and that metal show, but this really is just pure bullshit.
Does she think that we're the drunk show?
I guess. Because I don't think you all have to be so damn ugly about it all.
She probably thinks that you're Don Jameson and I'm Jim Florentine.
Apparently, I guess.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What an idiot. I missed that part when I read it the first time.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you for your fine comment.
Yeah. You guys are assholes.
Yeah.
You hurt my feelings and talked about a band that I like.
Yeah. That's been gone for how many years now?
Yeah, it's been like 5 or 6 years already.
Janie died in what, 13?
6 years, because he and I are just a month apart in age.
Okay.
And I'm 54, and he died at 48, I believe. So it's almost been 6 years.
Yeah. Wow. See you, Janes.
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm going to take a short break here, whether you are or not. But anyway, for our caller who is so caught up with the band Ghost,
Yes.
I'm going to play some Cleveland band, Crypt Kicker.
All right.
I'm going to play one of their favorite songs that was played a lot in the Cleveland area, The World of Ghosts.
All right. Wow.
Yeah. All right, well, here's Crypt Kicker exclusively here
On your classic metal show.